all you lovely people, and welcome to another Enhanced Edition, where this time, for a slight change of pace, we're taking a look at something that's actually still relatively new and not just covered in stickers that I bought off the internet. For anyone watching this who follows me on Instagram, not saying you need to, but just if you did, you've probably already seen this, but I went and did some work on Earthrise Optimus Prime. Primarily panel lining, but a little bit of painting here and there. And just launching right into it, it definitely, I feel like it's definitely noticeable. I did paint the front wheels silver to try and match the rear wheels a little bit better, though the silver's not super obvious. I might need to give it a second coat, or maybe it's just not the right tone. That could probably do with a little more work. But I tried. I wanted to get it to match, and I tried. I also painted the lights above the cab, because that seems to be a thing a lot of more current Optimus toys seem to forget. I mean, I know it's, 4 separate paint apps. I think that's how they ration this stuff out, so it's like costly and all that, but it looks so much better just with the lights. And around the back here, I painted the red on the toes for what could be tail lights. And I don't know if these are supposed to be black or red or yellow or whatever. Possibly the stuff kind of around the red is supposed to be black, but that's very tiny, so I just went with the red. And other than that, in truck mode, it's just covered in panel lines, and I actually really like the way this looks. It brings out a lot of the detail. It definitely separates the figure from its kind of G1 cartoon, intended G1 cartoon homage, because it brings out all of those mold details rather than making it look a little bit flatter. So definitely it separates it out from that cartoon aesthetic, but I kind of prefer that because this way it's sort of like it's clearly G1 inspired, meant to evoke the cartoon, but it's got more to it. It's not just the same old cartoon Prime that everybody seems to want to try to replicate. So yeah, I like how this works. I like how the panel line just brings a lot of that detail out. I think this works out pretty darn well. So with that out of the way, let us take a look at the robot. And in robot mode, again, it's primarily panel lining that just makes those details stand out a little bit better, which I really like. But there are a few bits that I did paint to kind of bring a few more elements in that I thought were missing. Most notably, the little yellow triangles on the forearms. Again, you can see the chest lights. I also, this was just because it was bugging me, I painted these little bits around the back silver, so that silver line continues from the front all the way around. And it's not quite the same shade of silver, and I also didn't go over this with panel lining because panel lining solution actually wears away the paint a little bit. The paint that I use. I've tried panel lining over stuff that I've painted before, and the Testors enamel paint does not like the Tamiya panel line accent color. But I still like it. I think how, it's nice to look at them from an angle, and that silver just continues all the way around the waist rather than awkwardly cutting off partway through. And you can again see the red on the toes. I did do some panel lining on the insides of the legs as well to kind of, cover everything, and on the insides of the arms and whatnot. And now I touched on this in the video I did for Earthrise Prime originally, the figure study video, but for those who haven't seen that one or are otherwise wondering, I did actually swap out the Earthrise Prime head for Siege Prime's head. And it's really simple, it's just a ball joint, you just pop the head off, pop the other head on. And I like this much better because the silver around the eyes is actually painted in. It's not just unpainted blue plastic. And he doesn't have that weird metallic blue back of the head. The dimensions of this head, and again, I said this in the other video, the dimensions of the head are a little bit different so that the back of the head sticks out just a tiny bit further than the Earthrise Prime. And that makes this a little bit more snug going into vehicle mode, but it still sits in there just fine. It's not like it's going to pop open or anything like that, but it's definitely a little bit more pressed up against things. I also contemplated switching out the hands for the Siege Prime hands because I don't like the metallic blue, but there's no real good way for me to get these hands out of there because you can see that it's a mushroom peg, but the problem is the mushroom peg is on the underside of this joint here, which means in order to get to it, I'd have to push this pin out and then pull this out and then pop off the hand, and it would just be more of a production than I'm willing to do. I don't like pushing out pins. I'm fine with unscrewing things. I'm fine with shaving things down. I'm fine with painting things. I'm fine with floor polish and shock oil and all that, but I do not like pushing out pins. But aside from the fact that it looks like he's wearing spangly gloves, I really like how this looks. Earthrise Prime is definitely a cool figure. Undecided whether I prefer him to Siege Prime, because there are certain elements to Siege Prime that I like better, but then there are other elements to Earthrise Prime that I like better. I should also mention for anyone who's wondering where the gun and or trailer are, I did not do anything to the gun, so I'm not showing it off in this video because what would be the point? The whole point is to show off the changes that were made, and that is the same reason I'm not showing the trailer, because I did not do anything to the trailer, because tempting though it is to panel line that thing, to bring out a lot of those details and add some paint and whatnot, it's just such a large plank of unpainted plastic. I almost feel like that's a bigger mountain for me to get over than panel lining Cybertron Primus. So, for now at least, I've only done the Prime figure proper. Yeah, as far as relatively simple at least, do-it-yourself customization stuff goes, I think this looks really cool. Again, I like how the panel lining, as it always does, brings out all of those little details that are in there and kind of not enhances, but it adds something new to the more cartoon G1-inspired look that the toy has. And those little bits of color felt like they were missing originally, and having them there now makes a big difference to me. So yeah, that is going to do it for my look at Earthrise Optimus Prime. It's short and sweet. I will have links to the Tamiya stuff in the description down below, but just to reiterate, this was done using Tamiya panel line accent color along with the enamel thinner to kind of clean it up once the panel lines were applied and had dried a bit, as well as Testors enamel model paints, because those are the only paints that I got, and so far they seem to be holding up pretty well. As always, feel free to let me know what you think by chiming in down below. I always enjoy hearing from you all, and please stay fabulous.